Good morning, Ms. Hollis. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
I'm Remy Hollis.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a band manager. I manage bands, but before I used to be a lead singer of the punk band Guns N' Noses. You've probably heard of us. That was until that wonderful woman, Courtney Love, came for my gig. Back in the day, they used to call me Rockin' Remy. After that, I started hanging around local hotspots in Midlands. You know, the Armpit, the Snake Hole, Grandpa's Cheese Barn. Started doing bookings, and I realized I was pretty good at it, so I started managing bands.
What bands have you managed before?
I've managed bands like Blink 183, Two Direction, Aerosmith. They weren't that great though. Right now I manage the Hound Dogs. I bring them on shows like Midlands After Dark to get them more fame. Before me, they were garbage.
So you've worked with MTS before?
Yeah, with multiple bands I've managed in the past.
Can you describe those past experiences for us?
Well, Jameson Clark deals with the bookings, so I deal with him. He's always super slow to reply to calls and emails, if he ever replies at all. The first time I ever worked with them, he accidentally booked 2 bands for the same show. I mean, who does that, you know? There's a real lack of communication there. They've always seemed super disorganized and weird.
And did you communicate with Jameson before the Hound Dogs were set to perform on the 29th?
Yeah, we shot some emails back and forth. You know, when it comes to Jameson, I always gotta make sure everything's in order. I'm very thorough. Back in the day, they used to call me Hollis Dx and Cx.
Would you be able to recognize a copy of those emails if I showed them to you today?
Sure.
Approaching opposing counsel with an exhibit pre-marked as Exhibit 10. Permission to approach the witness.
You may.
Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Yes, please, thank you.
Now, Ms. Hollis, how many people are involved in this email conversation?
Me and Jameson Clark.
How do you know that it was Jameson Clark?
It was sent by jclark@midlandstv.com, and I've worked with them in the past before, so I know that's his email.
Plaintiff defense would like to offer Exhibit 10 into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, with no objections, Exhibit 10 will be received in evidence.
Ms. Hollis, can you please explain what this conversation was about?
Well, I had emailed Jameson to ensure that the Hound Dogs would be the only band performing on that show, and it took him over a month to reply to me, which for them was business as usual.
Objection, Your Honor. Substantially more prejudicial than proven with that statement. For them, it was more business than usual. The prejudicial effect of that statement is substantially outweighing any probative value.
What was the statement?
She was referring to a reply to an email being a month in response to her original email, and then she was saying that for the Midlands Television Studio, that was business as usual. First of all, she does not have the necessary experience to make that qualification, and second of all, it is substantially more prejudicial.
Response.
Your Honor, Ms. Hollis has worked with Midlands Television Studios for years. She's clearly dealt with Jameson many times. Moreover, it's necessary to get a state of the communications array that has been taking place throughout Midlands Television Studios, because that's how the guidelines were disseminated, and it's necessary to understand how organized that they were. This is just referring to this experience, which, based on Ms. Hollis's past experiences, was just in line with that.
If I may be brief.
Yes.
This witness has already testified that she only has booked a few bands on Midlands Television Studios, so she would not have the necessary experience to talk about every single email that gets sent out by Jameson Clark or by the studio and how long the response time takes. Therefore, she does not have the experience to make this qualification, and it is substantially more prejudicial.
Well, I found that it goes a little bit more towards weight, not admissibility, so I'm going to overrule the objection. I'll allow her to make the statement, but you're certainly more than welcome to cross-examine on it if you so choose.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Hollis, when did Jameson finally respond to your email? What did he include in that?
After it took him over a month to reply to me, like I said, and he included these weird guidelines for live animals. Didn't say much about them.
And did you read those guidelines?
No.
Why not?
Well, my band, the Hound Dogs, are people, not animals. I thought he was trying to make a stupid joke about the name. A really stupid joke.
Did you ever reply to Jameson's email?
Yeah, I replied the very same day because some of us are professionals, and he never responded, so I assumed I was right and I didn't need to read them, like I always am. You know, back in the day, they used to call me Flawless Hollis.
So, to be clear, no one ever followed up with you to see if you actually read the guidelines?
Nope.
Okay. Now, let's move on to the day of the attack. Do you usually accompany your band to performances?
Well, no, I'm a band manager, not a babysitter, but based on some of the mix-ups I've had in the past with MTS, I figured it would be better for me to go along just to make sure everything ran smoothly. Yeah.
When did you get there?
I got there around 11. Band got there around 11:30.
What did you do when you first got there?
Usual manager stuff. I set them up in the dressing room, made sure they had everything they needed. And of course, nothing was how I had asked it to be. I specifically requested a bottle of chilled Chardonnay for myself and a bottle of chilled Mountain Dew Code Red for the band. And they couldn't even bother to do that. So I went to go see if I could find anyone in the building who could do their job.
So, when you left the room, what did you find?
I saw that the next door down had Danny Kosak's name on it, and it was wide open, and I had to look inside. I'm not going to look in the wide open door. And I saw that there was a chimpanzee inside, which was, at the time, pretty shocking, considering no one had ever told me there would be any chimpanzees.
And then you left the dressing room.
I did.
What did you find next?
Well, I was walking down the hall, and I heard some voices around the corner, and it sounded like somebody was talking to Alex Grace, and from their tone, they seemed pretty concerned.
Did you ever hear Alex Grace respond to them?
Yeah, I walked around the corner and I saw that Alex Grace was talking to Danny Kosak, and Alex was saying that he was worrying too much and that it would all be fine, and I remember that she specifically said, "Think of the ratings, baby."
Did you ever talk to Alex Grace after that?
Yeah, I stopped her to ask if she could move the chimp away from my band. They're distracted enough as it is, you know, and she said she would handle it. For the record, though, she never did.
What happened next?
Well, I went back to the dressing room. I waited around for about an hour. Then I got tired of waiting, so I went to see if there was anyone in the building who could follow simple instructions. And I walked outside. I saw that they were moving the chimp, and I thought that they were finally moving into a different dressing room, but I learned that they were just going to rehearsal. I decided to tag along and see what was going on. I just had a feeling about it. You know, I have an intuition sometimes. Back in the day, they used to call me the Long Island Medium.
So, on your way to rehearsal, did you see any signs posted about live animals?
No,
Did you see anyone working guarding the entrance to the studio?
no,
Did anyone even ask you where you were going or try to stop you?
no,
Did you have a printed out copy of the guidelines in your dressing room?
no, I did not.
Alright, so now you're on set. What happened during that rehearsal?
I sat in the audience to watch the rehearsal. At first it seemed normal. Danny Kosak and the chimpanzee sat in the chairs next to Alex Grace and she was interviewing them, but after a minute, Danny Kosak went off stage and stood behind a group of people, and all of a sudden, the chimpanzee just stood up on its chair and started jumping and screaming like it was some kind of wild animal or something. And then Miss Alex Grace made the obviously wise decision to reach her hand out toward the screaming chimp, and that's when the chimp ran and attacked Chris.
What did you do?
Well, the chimp ran off, and then I ran off faster than the chimp, and I called 911.
And after that 911 call, what happened?
Well, obviously the show wasn't going to be happening, so I had the band start loading up our stuff. We were going to leave, and as we were doing that, I ran into Alex Grace.
Did you talk to Alex Grace?
I did. She seemed pretty flustered, but that was understandable considering what had just happened. But I remember, and this seemed so shady, she said, "If anyone asks, I sent you a handout on animal safety, right?" And I said that Jameson had sent it to me, and her face immediately lit up.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Absolutely.
You may proceed.
Amen.
Good morning, Ms. Hollis.
Good morning.
Ms. Hollis, I want to pick up right where you left off. When you approached Alex Grace at the studio after the rehearsal had ended, you just mentioned that Alex Grace had told you to tell everyone that you had received a copy of those guidelines, right?
Yes, she said if anyone had asked that I had received a copy.
And for the record, you did receive a copy.
Yeah, I did.
You just chose not to read it.
Well, I wasn't instructed to read it, and I followed up to see if I should read it, and I never got a response, so I assumed that I shouldn't.
Directly back to my question, you chose not to read it, yes or no?
Yeah.
You never told Alex Grace that you didn't read the guidelines.
Well, no, nobody ever asked me.
You chose to leave that part out.
Well, yeah, no one asked me.
All right, I want to talk a little bit further earlier on in the day. You got to the set around 11:30, right?
I got there at about 11. The band got there at 11:30.
As you mentioned on direct, you were walking around the dressing rooms,
I was.
and you passed Danny Kosak's dressing room,
Yeah, it was wide open.
and then you saw the chimpanzee Elias in there, right?
I did.
When you saw the chimpanzee, it was in a cage, right?
It was.
And it started grabbing onto the bars and yelling.
Yeah, well, it looked at me and it screamed, and I was shocked, so I looked at it and I screamed, and we were both screaming. It was kind of chaotic.
It would put its hands on the bars, started shaking, bared its teeth, and started screaming. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it did.
To you, that chimp seemed agitated. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it seemed a bit annoying. I mean, I would be too. It was in a cage and all that, you know.
So yes, it seemed agitated to you.
Yeah,
To be clear, Miss Hollis, this was before the rehearsal started.
it was.
This was before the chimp was in front of the bright lights of the TV set.
Yeah,
And this was before the chimp had been sitting next to Alex Grace on set.
yeah.
A little bit after this, about an hour and a half actually, you walked by Danny Kosak's dressing room again, right?
Yeah, I did.
You overheard a phone conversation.
I did hear.
You heard Danny Kosak say, "I don't know, I just have a really bad feeling about this."
I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but it was stuff like that. He seemed concerned.
He said, "I don't know, I just have a really bad feeling about this," right, Miss Hollis?
I believe he did.
He said, "I don't know, I just can't shake this bad feeling."
Yeah, he said things like that.
This was just an hour before the attack.
Yeah.
Nothing further, thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, witness is excused. All right, any further witnesses for the defense?
Yes, Your Honor, defense calls